Some additional factors that make this recession even more difficult and likely to take longer to recover from in our country. As you're aware, consumption is about 60% of the American economy. Consumers became very over-levered during the height of the boom years. The debt-to-family income ratio topped out at the height of the bubble at about 132% family debt to family income. Over the last couple of years, that's come down some. Personal saving rates have gone up. And so from 132%, it's now down to about 122%. There's no magic equilibrium point. But for the sake of argument, let's say if the equilibrium point is 100% debt to family income ratio, at the current rates of deleveraging, American consumers and families still have another 4 years or so to go in terms of saving more and consuming less to get the rate down to 100% debt to family income, because it's unlikely family incomes are going to increase substantially in real terms. So if you have 60% of your economy delevering for the next 3 or 4 years, it's likely that rates of growth will be unsatisfactory for that period of time. On top of that, another 15% of the American economy is the government, the federal and state governments. As all of you are aware, I am sure, the budget deficit is very high in our country. The debt to GDP ratio has gone from about 38% only 3 years ago to 64% today. The current trajectory would take it, if uncorrected, to 90% in the next 2 to 3 years, and north of that if nothing is done. So the government is not in a good position to step up with a fiscal stimulus package to make up for the absence of consumer demand. We did that at the depth of the crisis, but governments also are now in the process of deleveraging rather than engaging in additional fiscal stimulus. So that 15% of the economy, rather than being stimulated, will also be somewhat contractionary over the next several years as we begin to get our fiscal house in order. The two other main pillars of our economy are exports. Exports have done well and continue to do well, largely because of the growth in the emerging markets. But as all of you know very well, many of the emerging markets, while growing very robustly compared to the US and Europe, are concerned about overheating, the risk of inflation, and may also be slowing compared to the rates of growth over the last year or two. So exports will continue to grow, but you can't really sustain a recovery on only 15% of your economy. The other part of our economy is capital expenditure. That did see fairly good increases following the downturn, but that has also tapered off because over time, capital expenditures, CapEx, has to follow consumption. And if the consumers aren't spending, well then eventually investment will slow down as well. Final thing I would say is that the real estate market in our country, you're well aware of the bubble that we had there. There's still a ways to go in terms of working our way out of the excesses of the real estate bubble in the United States. We have an overhang of several million homes that are in foreclosure or should be in foreclosure, but because of, and I won't get into the details unless you're interested in questions and answers, because of some of the things that are going on with our banks and because of some of the regulations or potential regulations put in place by the government, that has slowed the process of clearing the housing market, getting the foreclosures back on the market so that prices can bottom, stabilize, and begin to eventually recuperate. It looks as if that has at least another couple of years to run. That's a big part of our economy as well. So you add all of that together. I already mentioned the energy prices going up, food prices going up. This suggests a recovery. We don't think we'll have a double dip, but a sluggish recovery.